Ladies and gentlemen, the Dean of Comedy, Mr. GregDean.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A. So, Gayla?
D. Jones had a comment about a comedian named Shane Gillis.
He's a pretty well-known comedian, but I thought he had good jokes, but the audience was just like dead silent, and he just kept calling it out and going through his material and like didn't apologize. Like Greg was saying, does that just come with time? Like he like
yes,
still...
and there's also a part to this too, which is if all that you have in your basket is a series of jokes you're going to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And those jokes are not working. They are not sufficient for that particular crowd that's in front of you.
Right.
You end up saying, well, you'll get this one later. Well, these are the jokes, folks. And not apologize, just keep going. And because when that's all you've got, that's all you've got. So you just keep going. This is the reason in a safe environment of my classes is the when people aren't their planned show, let's call it, isn't working. My belief is if what you're doing isn't working, do something else. Do something. Now, that might not work too. But now at least you know two things to avoid.
Yeah, it's like the Edison philosophy.
So I'm saying, oh, you've got a show, and that show isn't sufficient for this audience. You try to adjust it, you do it faster, slower, you kind of do it, so on and so forth. And that's why I train people at least a little bit in my classes. They're more thoroughly in the Thursday night ongoing crowd work class. Oh, this is what I'm doing isn't working. Hi, what's your name? What do you do? And change the energy about it. See, that's why you have to have more than just one set of skills, I think.
Right.
If all you have is a show, what do you do when that what you brought to the table isn't sufficient for the audience that's in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. It may have killed them tons of times before, but that's not the point. That's not relevant to this audience. This audience wants you to find their funny bone, because you have different audiences. It's generally four kinds of audiences that I found. One is ones that laugh at jokes, but they don't want any interaction. They don't want any improv. They just want jokes. And then another one, they don't want jokes. They just want interaction. There's the ones that want everything. They don't care. They're having a great time. And then there's the ones that don't want anything. At least coming from me, it's like, what do I do? You keep trying. Well, my belief is try a whole bunch of different things. That's why you want to have more skills as you become a comedian, and that's why you need a safe place to be bad. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing badly. Over and over and over again until you get good at it. And that's the point of a safe place like a workshop. Come in and I give people techniques all the time and help them work on them. And then they go out into the clubs and they continue now, see them a year or two later, and they're amazing with those skills. They started out in the class not knowing what that was. Oh, let me give you one. Anthony Jeselnik.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea what a joke was when he came to me. I taught him joke structure, and I taught him several ways of going, and taught him on later as time went. He used to, in my classes, he told stories. Okay, and later he found one-liners, and he went, that's what I like, I'm going to do that. That is the choice he made. When he started, he had no idea what a joke was. Okay, that's the point of the five mechanisms that are between the setup and the punch. Setup and punch is not joke structure. That's just the way we express one-liners.
Mm-hmm.
That's the format for one-liners.
Right.
So I'm saying learn some stuff. Watch some comedian go, look at that. Look at what that person did. And then steal the technique. Don't steal the jokes, steal the technique.
Right.
And then practice it, amongst your friends. Maybe get a little group together in your area and get up once a week and try some stuff that you're terrible at. over and over and over again. Then start putting them up in front of a real crowd, start getting laughs with it. Because in my world, and the last thing I want to say, and I think it's really important, in my world, the craft of comedy I have now reduced to a series of knowable and teachable skills. Now, skills implies you can learn it, you can practice it, and you can master it and get better and better and better and better and better at that skill. But you got to have a teacher that knows enough how to take the techniques, turn them into exercises so that you can develop the skill. Now I say, apply that skill to your sense of humor.
Right.
Don't listen to anybody else. Apply it to your sense of humor your way. One of my favorite things is to go out and see somebody take one of my skills and do something with it that I never even thought of. Oh my God, they've gone past me. And I'm smart enough to go, let me write that down and teach it.
Right. Right.
That's what I do.
Right.
On that note, that's fantastic. Yeah, there's it's interesting that there are people out there that don't take classes and they're embarking on this terrifying venture. I mean, stand-up comedy, and Greg says this in his classes, you know, stand-up comedy is the scariest form of live performance art, the scariest form, because there's no fourth wall and people can talk back to you, toss things, and come up on stage and slap you. That is the scariest form of live performing art. Then Greg also says crowd work and riffing is the scariest thing within that form of art, because you can't control what they're going to say back to you. So it's interesting, people take that kind of vocation on and don't get training. It's like, I'm just gonna wing it. And so that's okay too.
Well, just to say that in my mind, I think of my classes as a trade school. I mean, we take you, my classes are a trade school. If you take the level 1 classes, we're going to teach you joke structure, 5 ways of writing jokes. We're going to give you the 3 POVs so you understand storytelling and then joke structure and storytelling. Then we're going to teach us a rehearsal process. So you take your material, turn it into scenes so you can see it and communicate and picture sounds and feelings and tell even one-liners as a story. So you're always telling a story, which is the oldest form of communication human beings have, right? That's, and then we get in the advanced class and then we build a show and go to the Hollywood Improv. Now, we build that show, I'm not saying all of them are perfect but the idea is now you're taking the skills from level 1 and you're working on these things to build a show, go out and test it, build another show, go out and test it. And then pretty soon you've got material. Now you're out doing, and my students, a lot of them pass up open mics. Why? Because they have a show. The point of open mics is to go and develop material so you can have a show. And we do that in my classes. People have 10, 15, 30 minutes of material and they go out and do shows all the time. And maybe the good open mics, because those can be good shows. It matters who's running it and whether they make everybody listen and pay attention and be respectful. That can be really, really good. Okay, but they have shows. And when other comedians see you have a show and you're working at 5+ laughs per minute and you're present, which is the relationship. You're present. They know that you're listening to the audience and taking it in and adjusting. If you get in trouble, you do a little crowd work. They kind of go, wow, I got a show over here. You want to come and do it? Then all of a sudden, a bunch of shows, smaller shows, rooms pop open all over Southern California that you never heard of. Okay. And so that's what can happen. Now, then in my advanced class, then we can, if you stay with me for a while and you've developed 15, 20 minutes worth of material, then we work on specialties. One of the specialties in the class, just for the class itself, is crowd work. Now we then tie that, then if the person's going to stay with me, then I teach them MC, how to be an MC. You want to fast track your career? Become an MC. You get more stage time as an MC than any other comedian will get it, but you got to do it good. You go and watch these open mics and shows, a small show. The MCs are less than good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys know, you've been out there, you see them. It's awful. It's terrible. They're self-indulgent and they're saying the most awful things because they're trying. Now, so you find the ones that you want to do, and then I teach you how to be a really, really good MC and how to handle it. And the first thing I teach you is that you're the frame. You're not
Right.
the picture.